Sri Lanka. Welcome to the show on a bright and early Wednesday morning. Now, it's always great to come into your homes and to bring you all the best of what's happening all around Sri Lanka each morning as well. You're here with me, Amaya. And of course, I have a very, very bubbly Wassam with me on the show this morning. Hello, Wassam.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Of course, why wouldn't I be bubbly? I walked into the studio just after Valentine's. Actually, the first time I'm seeing Amaya after Valentine's. I really badly wanted to bring her a rose because she's like one of my favorite people in MTV, you know. But I'm sorry, Amaya, I just forgot.
It's alright. It's the thought that counts.
But she's
anyway.
wearing pink today, and so am I. I mean, that should say something, right?
Yeah, so we did not plan this, though. Of course not.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Random Valentine's Day coincidence. So, how was your Valentine's Day?
Well, Valentine's was quite good. It was a poor year, remember?
Yes. So I think everyone appreciated it anyway, Valentine's or not. It was a great holiday for everyone.
Yeah, it was one of those Valentine's where I had an off day at work.
I see. And also, living in Sri Lanka, living in such a sort of multicultural and multi-religious society really gets you a lot of holidays, doesn't it?
Definitely. Actually, you know something, I wanted to bring out a point there, because when you take Valentine's, for example, a lot of people say, you know, I don't believe in Valentine's. And I know I've always asked these people, Amaya, do you not wish your teacher for Teacher's Day?
Okay. Yep.
Do you not wish your mom for Mother's Day? So then why can't we, you know, celebrate during Valentine's?
Definitely.
But definitely, like you said, we are a multicultural country, and of course here in Good Morning Sri Lanka we like to highlight those cultures as well, and don't we?
We definitely do. And we have two individuals. The first guests we have on our show today are people who have really taken a step back, because I think people, when it comes to different religions and different ethnicities, different cultures, individuals always try to look at what's different between two cultures and why they should clash, but we forget that there are so many similarities when we live in a multicultural and multi-religious society, because at the end of the day everyone's a human being, and there are so many beliefs that we have in common with so many of our brothers and sisters of other religions and other ethnicities as well. And we have two individuals who have just taken a small little part of this very multifaceted subject and really delved deep into that, and they are here with us on the show this morning.
We've got, as Amaya said, we've got two very special guests, and to introduce them to you, we have Sharni Jayawardena. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have Malathi Alwis. Now Sharni is a photographer by profession, and Malathi is an anthropologist. So I'm going to first start with Malathi. You know, I don't think everybody knows what an anthropologist is. Now you said that it was a study of people.
Yeah, most simply put, that's what it is.
Yes. So maybe we can start with that.
Anything that people have been involved in, we can study it.
I see.
Definitely. So maybe, you know, you can do a study on MTV presenters as well then, and let us know what your findings
the camera
are.
crew.
The question is, Amaya, do you want to know? Do we want to know?
That's true.
I mean, I'm sure the audience would want to know, but are we brave enough to find out that answer?
But you are here today. Okay, then we're going to leave that study aside. But we're here today to speak about something else that you've been studying, and as a photographer and as an anthropologist, a journey that you've taken into discovering a deity who is common to both Buddhism as well as Hinduism here in Sri Lanka. So Sharni, if I can ask you what exactly that journey was about?
Well, we've been looking at devotion to the goddess Pattini, the goddess is known as Pattini in some parts of the country, the west and the Sabaragamuwa, you know, that part of the country. And in the north and the east, she's better known as Kannagi. But she's the same goddess. And what we found sort of most interesting is not many people know that she's a shared deity, that the Kannagi devotees are not quite aware that Pattini, you know, she's revered as Pattini in another part of the country. So, but and she's got a very, very interesting history behind her.
I see. So this is what you've been trying to portray, and this is a photography exhibition actually that you've put together of some of the stills that you've taken from observing all of the rituals across the country. But before we go more into that, your background is as a photographer or as I guess involved in filmography as well, aren't you?
I've been a documentary filmmaker for a long time, but a couple of years ago, well, not a couple, but 3 or 4 years ago, I made a fairly sort of an unambiguous transition from the moving image to the still image, which I find much more interesting, much more compelling. Somehow the still image really gripped me, and so I've been doing things with it, audio slideshows, just using the still image to create impact, to sort of strike chords, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And on this project, documenting devotion to the goddess Pattini, Kannagi in Sri Lanka, I've been working with Malathi, and that's taken sort of photography to another level altogether.
How did that collaboration take place?
Yeah,
Because now you're an anthropologist, you're a photographer and a filmographer, but when did you get to know each other, and how did that combination start?
Malathi, why don't you?
We've been friends for a long time, and actually it began with Sharni's interest in a project which was called the Setu Samudram project, which was looking at the links between India and Sri Lanka, wasn't it? And so that's when Sharni first thought of looking at the devotion to Pattini and Kannagi, because actually the devotion kind of stems from this South Indian epic called the Silapadiharam, which was produced by this giant prince in Tamil Nadu. So already there is that link, and then of course there are different theories of how devotion then came to Sri Lanka. But so that's a very definite link that she was interested in, and the first time she went to Navagamua to photograph the Pattini devotion there, I just said I'd come along because I had never been.
So that's how it started.
And so that's how it started, yeah.
And you decided that this is going to be a collaboration that can actually work.
Yes.
And how does that work? So having an anthropologist along as well, who knows the sort of behavior behind the devotion that happens to the deity, did that really help you in your photography as well?
Yes. Like I said, it took it to another level. I mean, with photography, I mean, so you get caught up with the nice light, the engaging faces. I mean, not that stopped, but then, I mean, Malathi, I find she's sort of both insightful and analytical. So, sort of it's brought different elements into my photography. So we discuss things. She'd point out things that I've missed because I've focused on a prettier image, or so things like that. So it's really enriched my photography, and I'm so grateful that we work together quite like this.
Okay, well, on that note, Amaya, I think we need to go in for a short commercial break. So we'll be right back here on Good Morning Sri Lanka right after this. And welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka with me, Vasam, and we've got Amaya today as well hosting this Wednesday mornings show, and we've got two special guests talking to us about a special cultural exhibition that's going to take place at the end of the week, and on the 22nd and 23rd to be precise, which will take place at the Harold Peris Gallery, which is called Invoking the Goddess. And of course we have Sharni Jayawardena and Malathi the Alwis on the set talking to us about it. Of course, now before we go more further into detail about the exhibition, something we did not touch during the first segment, Amaya, is a little bit about the goddess Pattini herself. So who's the best person out of the two of you to tell me that?
The story.
The story.
Everyone loves a good story. Yes.
There are many aspects of this goddess. I mean, one aspect is, I guess, the understanding that she was actually a human being who then, was made divine. So that's kind of the trend of the Silapadiharam. But the gist of the Silapadiharam, the kind of kernel is that she was this very faithful wife, and the husband, was an adulterer, but she kind of, suffered that. And he goes off with a courtesan and then spends all the money, returns to her, and she still forgives him, and actually not just forgive, but she gives one of her anklets and tells him, you can take it back to the city he was in and sell it, and then they can both start life anew. And so that's when what happens is he takes it, and there's a goldsmith who loses the original queen's anklet, and then accuses the husband of having stolen the queen's anklet, and the husband is put to death.
Wow.
And when Kannagi hears of this, she makes the journey to the city and confronts the king.
I see.
And curses him for this form of injustice, and she tears out her left breast and flings it. and here there are variations. Sometimes they say she flings it on the king, others say she flings it on the city, but pretty much the whole city, is set on fire.
And also when we came into the studio this morning, Amaya, one thing you and I did not know is the fact that there were gods associated with Buddhism as well, right?
Definitely.
And
so
what you all told
about
me
our
was
own culture, I think, that we are unaware of.
a god that is significant in both cultures and religions. But can you just elaborate a little bit about that?
Maybe you can say a bit about Buddhism aspect.
Well, I think one of the important things about Kannagi for me is, what I find compelling about her is the fact that she very concentrated, was concentrated in her seeking justice for the wrongful killing of her husband. The other was, of course, she's aspiring to become enlightened. She wants to become a Buddha. So, this was also the epic itself, the Silappatikaram, comes out emerges from India, southern India, at a time when it had a sort of a background of Buddhism as well. It was written, the epic was written by a Jain prince, and so there are lots of Buddhist elements in it.
And
so
all
I
of
find
these
that
elements you've tried to capture in your photography as well.
Her fight for justice, and also the fact that she wants to become enlightened,
and then
a Buddha. So that's even when you go to Navagamua, where one of the main Patini shrines in the country, you hear, Matu Buddhu Amma. So that's, your Perumpurana Amma. So, she wants to become a Buddha. And that's very rare, that's very special. So she is very special to a lot of Sinhala Buddhists.
I see.
And you've captured that in your photos and in your photographs. So I think it's time to let our audience have a little sneak peek at what's going to be there in the exhibit on Saturday and Sunday as well. So let's go see some of the photos that you've captured, Sharni.